Today's topic is a real fun one, and it involves one of the greatest arcs in Star Wars, the Sith Temple on Malachor. Even more specific, the consequences that not only impacted our heroes, but the villains as well. Let's dive in. The Season 2 finale arc of Rebels set the stage for several revelations and inevitable confrontations. Kanan Jarrus and Ahsoka Tano are trying to discover a way to stop the Sith. After visiting the Lothal Temple and each encountering guidance from Yoda, it's Ezra Bridger who is advised to find Malachor. Fans of the Old Republic should be immediately drawn into this. We know from legends that Malachor is the planet that Mitra Surik, under orders from Jedi Master Revan, unleashed the mass shadow generator upon the Mandalorian warriors, hereby destroying them, ending the Mandalorian Wars, and decimating the planet. It seems that canon may be changing the history of Malachor, judging by all the dead Jedi and Sith warriors on the planet's surface in Rebels, but the concept is still the same. Everything that comes to Malachor comes to die. Physically, mentally, spiritually, quite possibly, hope comes to die there as well. The confrontation on Malachor saw the collision of several different factions. First, our rebels. One of the primary plots of Season 2 was the lasting impression that Darth Vader left on the Ghost crew. Their narrow escape in the premiere arc resulted in the fear of encountering him again. As Kanan aptly said, "We were lucky to even survive." To Ahsoka, the presence of this Sith Lord drew an all too familiar presence that she refused to let herself escape. But chasing down fear, confronting the darkness is the destiny of the Jedi. To truly be free of the fear bogging them down, it was the will of the Force and the guidance of Master Yoda to go to Malachor. On Malachor, Kanan entered the next step of his journey. After being blinded by the stranded Darth Maul, he finally learned to let go and walk by faith instead of by sight, to actually trust the Force with providing everything he needed instead of relying on itself. Ahsoka finally confronted Darth Vader and accepted the truth that he was once her old master, Anakin Skywalker. With this weight lifted from her, she was finally able to make peace with her past and begin the grueling work of moving forward past the fallout of the war. Ezra experienced something totally different. As an orphan on Lothal, Ezra never received formal training in the temple. The dark side of the Force was a concept to him, a boundary that he merely knew to stay away from. Other than some minor brushes of anger from Season 1, Ezra ventured into the heart of darkness metaphorically and literally by venturing through the Sith Temple. From meeting Maul and learning his point of view of the Force, to helping him free the Sith Holocron, Ezra entertained the true temptation of the dark side. This followed him past the events of Malachor and latched onto his training at the beginning of Season 3. Sometimes we cannot know and understand until we have actually touched the darkness. This was the way forward for Ezra. To truly reject the dark side after seeing what it could truly offer him, to actually cling to the light. Not every character passed through the crucible of Malachor stronger than before they came, and it can be confidently inferred that those who acquiesced to the dark side of the Force suffered greatly after Malachor. So let's talk about Maul, the Shadow, the Old Master, as he introduced himself to Ezra. It is still quite unknown at this point how Maul discovered Malachor or how he got stranded and seemingly excommunicated from Crimson Dawn, but we do know why he's here. Maul represents the archetype of a character seeking revenge in every storyline that he's wrapped up in. His aim was to access the holocron within the temple in order to power up that temple and retrofit it as a battle station in order to exact revenge on all of his enemies. Vengeance feeds on Maul, and the true tragedy is that he never fully accomplishes his goal of being fully satiated by vengeance. Though Maul escaped Malachor unscathed and free, the toil of revenge soon enveloped him. He just can't help but fraternize with it, and it finally catches up to him one fateful evening on Tatooine. Next, and quite possibly the most tragic, are the Inquisitors. At this point in time, we are led to believe that the fifth brother, the seventh sister, and the eighth brother are the final Inquisitors left on the Empire's roster. While these three have a strong connection with the Force, they easily fall to the same vices that Sith Lords of old fell to: greed and ambition. Though they are not Sith, they are kind of following in their practices. To put it into perspective, the Ghost crew went to Malachor with honest intent to learn how to overcome the Sith. Our Inquisitors arrived with zero reverence to the situation they found themselves in, zero respect and acknowledgement to the dangerous power that lie before them. Blinded by ambition, they failed the test. None of them made it out, and for all we know, this was the end of the Emperor's Inquisitor initiative. And then there's Darth Vader. His personal tragedy could be covered by several topics, but it's interesting to note how the culmination of his arc here on Malachor increased that moment of his redemption in Return of the Jedi. To Vader, Malachor represented a final test for him to purge the remainder of Anakin Skywalker from his soul. His final test was his former apprentice, Ahsoka. We know that they both walked away alive, but we learned something else as well. They both passed their test. Vader specifically looked his old Padawan in the eye and still made the choice to attempt to kill her. His failure to actually defeat her is not important here. What is important is that his actions represent the final nail in the coffin for Anakin Skywalker. So we think. If Ahsoka couldn't bring him back, then no one can. And that is what makes Vader's redemption that much more amazing and that much sweeter. The events on Malachor happen to be one of my favorite arcs in all of Star Wars, and I'd love to explore the consequences of how this affected each character a little bit more down the line. If you haven't yet, please like this video and subscribe to my channel. There's so much great Star Wars content that I've got left in the pipeline. So until next time, take care, God bless, and may the Force be with you, always.